In this video, we're going to talk about how to prevent menopause weight gain. Now, hopefully you're watching this video before you hit menopause so that we can help you prevent menopause weight gain. And maybe you've hit it and you're trying to figure out how to lose weight now that you're in menopause. I'm going to share with you 3 strategies for preventing menopause weight gain in this video coming up. Hi, my name is Dr. Lisa Lewis. I'm a naturopathic doctor, an acupuncturist, wellness expert, and we're going to talk about preventing menopause weight gain. So know that just because you hit menopause doesn't mean that weight gain is inevitable. Now, the estrogen levels during menopause, everyone's estrogen levels reduce, and that actually slows down your metabolism. So if you follow several health and wellness and lifestyle strategies, you can actually prevent menopause weight gain. Know that it's much easier to prevent weight gain than it is to lose it. So these 3 strategies should support you in preventing. Now, remember, if you're in menopause and you're trying to lose, you can also use these strategies. Now, strategy number 1 are the dietary changes, all the things that you need to do for dietary change. Now, a lot of people, before they hit menopause, they start to restrict their calories and, go on, the 500 calorie diet, and when they see the weight starting to creep up. It's so important to follow a healthy dietary and lifestyle strategy so that your body doesn't go into shock. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to minimize carbs. Now, once you start to move into the menopausal age and range, your body's ability to break down carbs is significantly reduced. You may have had a healthy metabolism before and you could eat all the carbs you wanted to before, but moving into menopause, your body will definitely slow down its ability to break down carbs. Now remember, if you eat a lot of carbs and you don't burn them up by the end of the day, they get stored all over the body, but especially in the midsection, the hips, and the thighs. So the fewer carbs you eat, the more likely you are to prevent that fat storage. And you want to make sure that the carbs you eat are the right carbs. So of course, you want to pull out the high sugary carbs. You want to pull out a lot of the starchy carbs. And you want to focus more on the carbs that have a lot of fiber and have a lot of minerals and nutrients, which are the vegetables. And now we have green leafy vegetables, anything with a lot of color in it. Those will have a lot more minerals and nutrients in it. Next, you want to, I would say, moderate or minimize your fat intake. Now, a lot of people believe that you should reduce your fat intake and eat like low-fat foods and try and reduce as much fat as possible. But it's not always the fat that causes us to put on weight. It's usually the sugar that's converted into fat and stored. As long as you're eating the healthy fats, make sure that they're the good fats, not trans fats, not too many saturated fats, but the olive oils and sometimes the coconut oils, depends on whether you're keto and all of that, right? But you want to make sure that you minimize your fat intake. You're not going to eat a high fat food because, of course, the more calories you eat, the more you're probably going to store, because how much can you actually burn in a day, right? The healthy fats are good for you, so you shouldn't eat low fat, meaning you shouldn't eat foods that say no fat or low fat, because they're usually replaced with a sugary substance or a carb substance or some kind of substance that's going to be difficult for your body to metabolize and break down. So don't be afraid of fat. Just make sure that you minimize and you moderate your fat intake. Get rid of the trans fats and as many saturated fats as possible. You also want to add in lean meat. Now, when we talk about lean meat, I think of fish. I think of meats that, of course, that you don't see a lot of the marbly fat in it, right? And the important thing is that you have to have a certain amount of protein in order for your body to not break down and actually become, reduce your muscle mass. Because as you get older, your muscle mass will reduce probably, I think, about 10% for every 10 years or so. So you want to make sure that you're eating enough protein, but it's going to be the healthy, clean, hormone-free, organic, free-range meats. And you can never go wrong with wild fish. The ones that like salmon, halibut, cod, the cold water fish that have a lot of the good fats that we just talked about. Make sure that you consume a good amount, not too much protein, but a good amount, at least maybe 2 servings a day. You also want to increase your fiber intake. And if you're eating at least 2 fibrous, like what we call brassicas, like the kales, the spinach, the collards, the Brussels sprouts, the cauliflowers, if you're eating those type of vegetables, they have a lot of fiber in them, then you're probably going to get enough fiber for the day. At least, when we talk about vegetables, at least 3 to 5 servings. I know that sounds like a lot, but 3 to 5 servings of vegetables. You should be eating vegetables for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I put vegetables in my smoothie to make sure in the morning that I'm getting vegetables in all 3 meals. And again, because we're moderating our carbs, you still want to have maybe 1 to 2 servings of fruit, but depends on whether you're keto, you probably won't add a whole lot of fruit to your diet, but you want to eat the whole fruit because again, you need the fiber. Now, I'm not really a calorie counter, but you have to understand that calories matter. So when trying to prevent weight gain in menopause, you've got to watch the number of calories that you eat per day. Now, the average person, if you're not trying to lose weight, I'd say depending on your age, depending on your weight, you're going to probably eat maybe 2,000, 2,500 calories. Now, if you're trying to lose weight, you want to reduce that by at least 500 calories, at least 500 calories a day. Now, it's important because if you reduce your calorie count like drastically overnight, so you go from 2,000 calories to 500 or 1,000 calories, your body won't be able to process that change as quickly, and it'll put you in kind of what we call starvation mode, where it'll shut everything down. So you want to gradually reduce your calories, but really a great way to minimize the amount of calories you eat every day is to intermittent fast. And the most common form of intermittent fasting is the 16 to 8, meaning you fast for 16 hours a day and you eat for 8. And that's not really that difficult, because if you take into account, you eat your last meal at 7 p.m. and then you wake up at 7 a.m., that's 12 hours. So breakfast is called break fast after all, right? So that's 12 hours. And then you just have to add 4 more hours, which really is kind of eating lunch and then dinner. Now, if you're eating lunch and dinner, then you get to spread all your calories for the day through those 2 meals, and that's more likely that you'll be able to reduce your calorie count over time. But if you can't go the 16 to 8 method, you could always start with making sure you do 12 hours and then add an hour and add an hour, and by the end of maybe the 4th or 5th day, you've reached the 16-8. right? So it's important to know that there's ways to reduce your calories without just plain starving yourself, because starving doesn't work. You have to reduce your calorie count gradually to make sure that your body doesn't get shocked and go into starvation mode. Now, the next important strategy is exercise. Now, exercise is hugely important because remember, we talked about earlier, in menopause, your metabolism is significantly reduced. And exercise can really support and help increase your metabolism and help you burn more calories, burn more fat. Now, the type of exercise that you do is really important. They have aerobic exercise and anaerobic exercise. And what most people tend to do is they tend to do that treadmill all, for an hour, 30 minutes, or they do a lot of just steady state kind of exercise where you're doing the same thing over and over for a long period of time. Now, if you're trying to prevent weight gain, that might be okay. Even walking briskly or taking long walks every day might be good. But if you're trying to lose weight, you have to really go a little bit harder than that without really pushing yourself over the edge. And so I always recommend high intensity interval training. I guess it's HIIT. And that's where you do bursts of exercises for a certain period of time and then you rest. So you might exercise for 20 seconds and rest for 5, or exercise for 30 seconds and rest for 10 seconds. And you can do that for about 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week, and that will really increase your metabolism, and you won't even feel like, you'll be pushing yourself, because we call it high intensity. It means you're going as hard as you can, but you can gradually step into that. You don't have to push yourself at such an intense level that you harm yourself. So you can gradually boost up in intensity, and over time you'll really start to see how quickly that helps to burn fat. Now, the last strategy to prevent menopausal weight gain is managing your stress. And what I really mean by that is understanding what your adrenal glands are doing. What happens when you are entering into menopause is your ovaries stop producing as much estrogen as they used to. They still produce estrogen, but not as high as when you were in your reproductive years, right? So if the ovaries are slowing down the production of estrogen, guess what takes over during menopause? You're right, the adrenal glands. So your adrenal glands will start to produce more estrogen. It won't be enough to make up what the ovaries, what the ovaries were producing all those years. But if you go into menopause and your adrenal glands are in deficit, chronic stress, or you just have been burning a candle at both ends and you're starting to feel exhausted, again, that weight gain. There's so many different symptoms. You can't sleep at night. There's so many symptoms related to adrenal fatigue. But one of the really important things is to know that some of the symptoms and a lot of the symptoms related to menopause weight gain have to do with your adrenal glands being out of balance. You can do saliva testing, which is the most accurate form of adrenal testing. You can do saliva testing to see what your adrenal glands look like before you go into menopause. That way, if they're a little low, the function is a little low, or your adrenal glands, there's so much cortisol and adrenaline that's through the roof, then you can treat that before you go into menopause, as opposed to waiting and then suffering from a lot of the challenges that show up, which is, weight gain, carbohydrate imbalance, hot flashes, mood swings, brain fog. A lot of the common menopausal symptoms that most women experience have a lot to do with adrenal fatigue or adrenal imbalance. So if you manage your stress before you enter into menopause, then that can help prevent menopausal weight gain. So I hope this information is important for you. You're going to prevent menopausal weight gain, you're going to manage that diet much more strictly, not in the way that it won't be pleasing to eat anymore, but at least you know that you have to eat a little differently during that period where you're entering into menopause and afterwards. And you're going to, number 2, you're going to exercise, and I recommend high intensity interval training. And then number 3, you're going to know and understand what your adrenal glands are telling you so that you can prevent adrenal fatigue and some of the symptoms associated with that, and also prevent weight gain. There's going to be plenty of more videos like this in relation to all kinds of hormonal issues. I have a free gift for you in the description. You can download, there's a download link for you there. Subscribe, because we're going to be putting out so much content for you in relation to many different issues, but especially related to hormonal health. And I look forward to being able to support you in preventing your menopausal weight gain.